Sarray debuted, Kyle O'Reilly's back, and it's Kushida's turn to have an open challenge for the Cruiserweight Championship. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your 420 NXT review, and we're just going to go ahead and pretend that no other stupid shit happened today. Oh yes, don't have very much to do in the house cleaning this week, so I'm going to hop straight into plug the socials, as it says right here on my sheet. If you are watching me right now and you see the pretty sexy face and the gimmick hat, you want to find me in an audio platform, go to your audio platform of choice, search Spaz Phoenix Podcast. If you're over there right now listening to me in your ear holes and you want to see me on the screen, you want to see the pretty sexy face, you want to see the gimmick hat, you want to go to YouTube, search Spaz Phoenix, Twitter at Spaz Phoenix and at Spaz Phoenix 1, Instagram at Spaz Phoenix, go to Facebook, find the Spaz Phoenix Podcast Facebook group. And if you're watching me on YouTube, throw a comment down in the comment section below so that they don't yell at me. Yeah, nothing really else to promote. Haven't really done much. I was going to do some stuff with Jake. Unfortunately, for those of you that know Jake's situation, you can probably understand why that wasn't possible this weekend / this week. You guys that do, go show Jake some love. We love him here on the channel. We love everything he contributes to this channel, and it's all good. I also wanted to touch on the 10 releases from WWE. And it is 10, as much as people are just going to say the Iconics and Samoa Joe and some other people, which is kind of terrible. But at the same time, I'm not going to say anything that anybody else hasn't already said, so I didn't want to be redundant. And I ended up working some overtime this weekend, so that just didn't get done. That just didn't get done either. I got this coming out. I got hopefully some more collab. I'm going to stop for a while telling you guys when the collabs are coming out, because life tends to get in the way, and I don't want to tell you about stuff that that you don't end up getting. So hopefully there's more collabs coming soon. Hopefully more Flicks Fix. Hopefully we get our buddy Jake back and we can do some stuff. I'm gonna dig up Guapo. I'm gonna dig up Guapo eventually. Next time there's an AEW show to talk about. Haven't had him on for quite a while, but yeah, the Spaz Phoenix family is going to come back together at some point. Let's talk about NXT. Let's talk about the 420 NXT. Wouldn't it have been cool if they had let Matt Riddle come back for one night? Not really even touch on why. Obviously, they're not going to make a bunch of huge direct pot references in WWE, but just have Matt Riddle randomly show up for the most innocuous, stupid, meaningless match and just be like, Matt Riddle came back on 420, or he has Rob Van Dam in his corner for a night, you know, new Hall of Famer Rob Van Dam. What we did get, sorry, my brain is doing its typical, just get on with the show Spaz thing. We did finally get an entrance for this new like goth aesthetic NXT that we've got now. And I will say, I think I said it on Twitter, I will definitely say it here. I know I harped on it last week a lot, like the new graphics, the new lower thirds, the new sort of layout and all that sort of thing is really, really cool. And I had a thought, and nobody's going to agree with me, and that's fine, but I wanted to share it with you anyway. If you look at that, the NXT logo, like the full one, the one you're going to see in the logo if you downloaded this as a podcast, it's the small gold NXT, and then whatever that big black bird is, and then there's the white X in the back. Now, there's a subconscious thing happening there, because as I said, talking to somebody, it was probably Jake, let's be real, talking about the aesthetic of NXT and how everything on NXT, the weekly show, is black and yellow, or black and gold, as the black and gold brand. But TakeOver, once it established itself as a thing, once you were on a TakeOver, that was a big thing, and the aesthetic of the NXT TakeOvers has always been black and white. So to put more black and a bit of white into the gold logo, it draws an association. And you might think I'm crazy, and that's fine, but I do think it gives the weekly show a big show feel, not to be confused with the Michael Cole big fight feel. Anyways, Kyle O'Reilly's back, and he's just cleared. He wasn't cleared for his match with Adam Cole. They beat the crap out of each other with all kinds of weapons and did all kinds of terrible things to each other and went to the hospital, which led to him being cleared, which is fine. He came out, and he's a bit I hate overusing the term. He's a bit banter, but he kind of is. He comes out all sarcastic. He's got a little bit of a fedora going on. He's got the jacket on. Underneath the jacket, he's got the shirt that says, "If you love wrestling, you should love me because I wrestle." I think that's really good. He talks about, everybody in life has struggles. His biggest struggle was a takeover. I don't usually thrust myself into the spotlight. The work speaks for itself, but everybody's asking me, I got to move on. What's next? Goes over a couple of different things, and he's about to call out I was about to say Killer Cross, Karrion Kross, who's the current NXT champion. He mentions the North American title at one point, and I kind of would like to see him not immediately go. I threw this out to somebody as well, and basically what I would love to see him dip into the Cruiserweight division, grab the Cruiserweight title, have a title for title match later on down, like a month or 2 months later, pick up the North American title, be the first person in NXT history to hold both of those titles at once. It would elevate the Cruiserweight championship, and it would give, guys from the Undisputed Era are main eventers. It would give main event shine to both of those belts, but at the same time, I would want him to take one accomplishment, take the other accomplishment, walk into Regal's office, drop them both on his desk and say, "Give me Cross." I think as a long-term story, leading into whatever pay-per-view is near SummerSlam, excuse me, I think that would be a really, really cool story. I don't think they're going to do that, because they already think he's already been in a main event title match twice, and fucked up his jaw and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think they'll backpedal him, which is what they would see that as. But I think it would be cool, definitely, to elevate the Cruiserweight title, because it seems to be on a roll right now. As he's about to call out Cross, he gets interrupted by Grimes. He congratulates him, and you really showed Cole at the pay-per-view. You really showed them that you could stand and deliver. I made a killing on DraftKings, which is nice. He says, all the odds were against you, which is kind of weird and whatever. But right now, your star's on the rise. You need somebody to watch your back. You need somebody to invest in you. How about we take those sunglasses and we make them cool Kyle sunglasses, or maybe KO coins, which I hate to admit it, but I'm warming up to Cameron Grimes in this whole, lost millionaire thing. And he says, it's funny you say that. I'm out here talking about what's next. I'm out here. I should be talking about the fact that I've actually been medically cleared, and I'm gonna have a match tonight. And don't worry, the match isn't with you. And he starts looking around, puts his sunglasses back on. Oh, my mistake. It is you. And he decks him. And there you go. There's your main event set for the night. Kyle O'Reilly's got a little bit of humor to him, because it'll not surprise you guys for me to admit, I go against the grain a lot of the time. People liked One Final Beat, people didn't like One Final Beat. I thought One Final Beat was great. People thought the Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly thing leading into Stand and Deliver was like way too overly serious and over dramatic and all that sort of thing. I disagree. I enjoyed it. But for those of you out there who maybe thought it was getting a little bit melodramatic, everything's grit upon grit upon grit, and everything has to be serious, to see Kyle O'Reilly do this almost Sami Zayn-esque sarcasm, except he's a babyface, is a good little thing. And he does the thing with the sunglasses. Oh, my mistake. It was you. Knocks him out. We see Sarray arriving at the arena earlier on in the day, being greeted by William Regal to make it feel big and wonderful. And then Zoe Stark comes out and offers herself up as Sarray's first opponent, which is cool, because that's the match obviously this is the match that they obviously set up for tonight's show. Why I find this cool, I don't want to overshadow the debut of Sarray. I really don't, because she was good, and we're going to get there. But I think it's really cool that Zoe Stark has already established herself on the roster in such a brief period of time that they trust her to be the one to go in and make the next new person look good. I hope that makes sense to you guys, because it's really, really fun to watch Zoe Stark and how they clearly see something in her, and the people that are, oh, well, she's gonna get it because she's blonde. Fuck off. Like, that's all I got. Like, I don't have patience for you people anymore. LA Knight is backstage, hyping up his match with Lumis, talking all kinds of shit about everybody and how everybody had to double and triple team him to get him out of the Gauntlet Eliminator at TakeOver, which is kind of true, but also it's really funny to watch him get his ass kicked. But he's facing Dexter Lumis, isn't he? And another thing and there's a lot of stuff that I like on this show. You guys know that. NXT is my brand. I will toot the horn, and I will say that as they crossed the finish line, last goal wins, NXT won the Wednesday Night War. It is what it is. But it's not to say that NXT is perfect. I still don't like Dexter Lumis. I don't think Dexter Lumis himself brings much value to the screen. The complex part of that is I think the Way's reaction to Dexter Lumis is entertaining and does bring a lot to the screen. And as a fan, how do you compute those two things? Anyways, Knight versus Lumis. I didn't expect much out of this match, to be perfectly honest with you. It was better than I thought. And Knight is very entertaining. He's in that Miz category of come out, talk some shit, and it'll be really amusing when you get your ass kicked. But again, Dexter Lumis is not the serial killer that his attempted character would like you to believe. Collar and elbow tie and a corner body shot by Lumis, uppercut by Lumis, lariat and a huge boot by Knight, slingshot spear by Knight, and a back body drop by Lumis, uppercut outside the ring by Lumis, followed by a spinebuster, rolling knockdowns by... I thought it said rolling knee downs, because that's how terrible my writing is. Followed by another backdrop, slingshot suplex by Lumis, Knight... I will say, the slingshot suplex that Lumis does, where he gets him up part of the way for a vertical suplex, bounces him off the top rope into the snap suplex, that is really cool. I really do like that. He just doesn't do anything leading up to it. He doesn't do anything directly after it that keeps the momentum of my enjoyment of that one maneuver up. And that's bad, isn't it? Knight chops him in the throat, which is awkward. Lumis eats the guardrail on the outside. Spear into the apron by Knight in a series of uppercuts. Indy Hartwell distracts Lumis, or sort of indirectly or unintentionally distracts Lumis, because she's on the other side of the glass, she's on the other side of the fencing. When the whole ongoing global situation is over, I wonder if they're going to take the plexiglass down. I think they should. I'm just saying. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, WrestleMania. Like, let's talk about the atmosphere at WrestleMania. WrestleMania didn't have cages and plexi, and it didn't look like a hockey game. Let's get into that. Anyways, Indy's behind the glass. Knight uses the distraction to jump him. He hits him with a suicide... Like, I don't know what this was supposed to be. I don't know whether it was actually an intentional new thing, because a suicide elbow drop to the outside is a cool thing, but it looks like he could have just undershot the suicide dive and tried to flail out and make it into something. I don't really know. Knight catches Lumis coming back into the ring while he's still between the ropes and hits him with sort of an inverted face-first cutter type of thing and gets the win. And then Indy Hartwell is standing on the apron about to make out with Dexter Lumis, and the Way save her from herself. At least that's my opinion. In the back, Ruff talks some shit about Swerve, which is awesome, except neither one of them had a match tonight, and Swerve wasn't on the show. Beth Phoenix in the back interviewing Io Shirai. It's the first time we've seen her after she lost her title at TakeOver. Big shout out to Raquel Gonzalez still. That was a fantastic match. It was... I don't know, the weird let's get all the champions back together from last week is a weird take on it, because and I'm stealing this from Michael Hemphill from What Culture. She was a big, strong, you know, killer type character, steamrolling through the entire roster, not caring who got in front of her, etc. She destroyed Io Shirai, and then she's out there smiling and glad-handing with the other champions last week on Raw. Now, I know that this is NXT. I know that this is the same brand that had the Four Horsewomen break character when a match was over and cry in the ring, because that's what Sasha Banks does. More than Charlotte, yes. Take a look. Take an honest look. But I don't know. Gonzalez is going to go on and have great matches and kill people. We know this, but it's a weird narrative speed bump, shall we say? But cool to see Io Shirai. They flash back way back to the triple threat at Takeover in Your House, where she beat Rhea Ripley to take Charlotte Flair's title, which was, you know, back in the time where anybody but Charlotte, whatever. And then we bookend it with Stand and Deliver, some highlights, and, you know, she's in a lot of pain because Raquel, like, killed her and whatever. She says wrestling is a challenge. Raquel was my biggest. She's got a rematch somewhere on the horizon, but and I don't think they let a lot of wrestlers do this in kayfabe. It's like, what are you going to do right now? Well, what am I going to do right now? I'm going to go home and heal. I'm going to go home and rest. Look at the match I just had on this pay-per-view. I need to go recuperate and get myself back together. And I thought, for a wrestling show, that's pretty cool. That's an element that's going to go under the radar a lot. But I think that's a really cool thing for her to honestly, like, look at herself and say, look, I just lost. I just suffered the biggest loss of my NXT career. And this person who's quite a lot larger than me and quite a lot more powerful than me put some pain on me. And I have to go recoup. And then you see the puppy walk across the table, and Frankie Monet comes in and makes a very sarcastic introduction. She comes in with some fake respect for Io Shirai, talks about how she's always been a fan of Beth Phoenix, and she says, you know, it's a good thing you're taking some time off. I'll take your place running this division for now, and I'll fill your shoes, because my shoes are nicer than yours anyway. Io Shirai says a bunch of things in Japanese, and Frankie Monet does the sort of problematic thing of like, yeah, I don't really know what you're saying, which is going to twist a lot of people up, I can just tell. And then Io Shirai's response was, she gives the dog a dirty look and says, I like cats, and fucks off. I like that, because it could have been a brawl, it could have been what WWE is guilty of doing. So, I'm going to go away and fix myself, and you know, I'm going to fade into the background for a bit. But no, wait, I'm coming back next week to have a match with Frankie Monet, who's fresh and hasn't had a match yet, and I haven't had a chance to scout, and I've just said I'm leaving because I'm so beat up. They didn't do that. She just sort of gets snarky with her and says, I like cats. That's a much better thing to do. We get Breezango versus the Grizzled Young Veterans, and Breezango are dressed as the Queen's Guard, which, I mean, if you want to take the comical route, it's Breezango, and they do the dress-up caricature type stuff. If you want to be more serious and look at what's going on in the world right now, and, you know, how we treat different people around the world when they pass away, if you want to look at it as a little bit of a tribute thing, that's cool too. Wade Barrett was playing it up on commentary, and I think I don't pay attention to commentary very much, if I'm totally honest with you guys, but doesn't he usually harp on these guys, especially when their opponents are the Grizzled Young Veterans? Gibson obviously freaks out, talking about, oh, you guys, you Yanks over here in America don't know that joking around doesn't get you anywhere, which is fine, I guess. And then you do what Breezango always does, and I think this is really cool because it's sort of New Day-ish. It's kind of Generation X-ish. Come out, have the fun, and every time you're out there, prove that once the fun is over, we can still kick your ass. I think they did a couple of backstage promos last year about that exact thing, and if that's the recurring theme, I think it's good. I've said it before, and I will say it again, and I will always refer to it as the Triple H syndrome, which is bad to some people. I get it, whatever. Triple H could come out at the beginning of a Monday Night Raw, riding a fake tank with all the rest of the guys from DX telling you to suck his dick, throwing green not highlighters, glow sticks out into the crowd, doing the most ridiculous thing with the water guns and pretending it's a cock, and every juvenile thing that DX and Shawn Michaels and why? Don't do that. Come on, there we go. It's not good at all. There you go. You ever want to know what my light source is? It's a blank Word document on my computer screen. But no, lost my train of thought now. Thanks, computer. No, Triple H could come out and do all that childish stuff at the beginning of the night with DX and all that sort of thing, but he could still come out at the end of the night, have a rematch of that classic Mick Foley Hell in the Cell, crash somebody's head in with a sledgehammer, and you would still believe that nasty, devious bastard Triple H. And you could get both of those Triple H's in the same night. Now, I'm not saying that Breezango are the same as that, but they are, on their own level, they are doing that. New Day, on their own level, do that. A lot of other acts on their own level do that. I bet Miro wishes he could do that. But it is what it is, and especially when you put them in there with guys who are basically, hey, here's this other team who's tough, like Grizzled Young Veterans. Gibson freaks out with his opening promo, which is always great. Just soon to be recognized. I shouldn't do accents. It's fine. All four brawl to start. Gibson and Breeze have a collar and elbow tie, right hands by Gibson, mounted punches by Breeze, chops by Fandango, kitchen sink. There's a lot of kitchen sinks in tonight's show. I never thought those words would come out of my mouth. Seated neck bites by Gibson, a shoulder tackle by Breeze, a super kick sandwich party, baby, by Breezango as we go into commercial break. You know, Young Bucks, one day they'll be as good. Anyways, not doing it tonight. Drake off the top rope comes off and injured his leg, except he didn't. It's all a ruse. The referee's distracted. Gibson comes in with a thumb to the eye. Back to the seated neck vice once again. Back elbows by Breeze. Body shots by Breeze. A beauty shot and an apron lariat. Leg sweep by Breeze and a ticket to mayhem. Get the win for the Grizzled Young Veterans. It's funny that I like Breezango, and they are also really, really good at getting their asses kicked. It's really, really bad. We're going to talk about Everrise later on in the show. They are really good. at getting their asses kicked, but for reasons that will become apparent later, I cared much more about this match. Grizzled Young Veterans are great. Zach Gibson is really, really good on the mic. Breezango are really, really good with their comedy shtick, blending into their wrestling, as I've just harped on. It's all good. Am I ready to come up here yet and say that NXT's tag team division is on the rise? No, because a logical wrestling fan wouldn't say this entire division is turned around after one match. Would they? No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. Good match, though. Good match nonetheless. The Way are backstage, and they're trying to unbrainwash Indy Hartwell. It's not really working. She still wants to get in touch with him somehow, some way. Bronson Reed interrupts and says, hey, how come you guys don't love? You know, Johnny, if you're going to not love, then you're going to hate the fact that I'm still looking at your championship. Austin Theory, because he's an idiot, says, don't worry about it, Johnny. I already talked to William Regal. If he wants a shot at your title, he's got to go through me. I talked to William Regal. If he beats me, he gets a shot at your title. It's like, what? Now, one thing, again, NXT kind of fell down a little bit because the way this segment came together made it sound like this match was happening tonight. And I started looking forward to it because I like Austin Theory. Yes, you're allowed to like Austin Theory. And I really like Bronson Reed. And obviously, he's another one, like Zoe Stark, like Shotzi Blackheart, that you can tell they've really got a rocket on right now. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be NXT champion, bowling over Karrion Kross anytime soon, but it's fine. It's wonderful. What's more wonderful is the NXT women's division, is it not? Zoe Stark versus the debuting Sarray. I really like Zoe Stark. As I said, they've got a rocket on her back, and it's really, really fun to see somebody who does, and not in the cliche way that we typically criticize wrestlers for. She genuinely looks happy to be doing what she's doing. I said this ages ago, and I'm going back to a lot of other pay-per-view references tonight because I'm feeling a little bit reflective tonight. Maybe it's the day that today's been, but I said way back at WrestleMania when they did the bullshit mix tag between Miz, Maurice, John Cena, and Nikki Bella. Now that match isn't going to set the world on fire at all. Absolutely at all. But, you know, four people that I assume are kind of friends at least, they're getting to go out there with their significant others, they're getting to go out there and have a match that has no real stakes, no real pressure. It's not a match that anybody was really looking forward to, so they just got to go out and have a good time. And from then on, I sort of went with, yes, there's awesome stuff, there's stuff that sucks, but if you can tell that the wrestlers are having fun with what they're, if you're watching the people perform, and you can tell that they are having fun, it changes your perception of the match. And Zoe Stark sort of embodies that on her own because she genuinely just looks like she's having fun in her first early days of NXT, and it radiates and it shows, and she puts that out there when she's performing. Now Sarray, on the other hand, she's making her debut, obviously. Her entrance, I was concerned about it for a second because it sounded like every cliche bit of background music from a Japanese movie or a martial arts movie, but then it fades from that into this hard sort of, not death metal, but like a hard middle rock type music. And her thing around the arena is like all these digital banners with her name and all that sort of thing. Beth Phoenix is rhyming off all the, I'm assuming, well-known women that she's worked with in Japan that have all given her kudos and thumbs up and given her high praise and all that sort of thing. The only name that I recognized, I'm not going to lie, was Aja Kong, and I only know Aja Kong because of AEW, so hey, there's a shout out for AEW. But they have a handshake to start, both respectful because they're both playing off as baby faces. I would have loved it if they both came out, they both did the respectful thing, they both did the handshakes, and one of them immediately turned for no reason. I would have laughed, but that didn't happen. Test of strength, and obviously Stark has the advantage because I couldn't tell from the video packages that we got the past 2 weeks, but Sarray is smaller than I thought she was. She's not quite a Kairi Sane size, but she's not. This is going to sound really, really disrespectful or like I'm talking down to her. I'm really not. But just, I don't know what I was expecting, but she's smaller like in frame than I thought she was from the video package. So that was a bit of a thing. So when Stark goes for the test of strength, obviously she has the advantage. But a monkey flip by Sarray, some low drop kicks to the legs, stomps to the back by Sarray, and then she does this submission thing where she gets her in the, you know, the version of the Indian Deathlock where it's modified. It almost looks like a failing sharpshooter, but then she bridges back into a headlock as well. So while she's bent back herself, her opponent is bent back the other way. Now, I don't know why I'm making hand motions, because that's not going to help anything. But basically, she was twisted up like a pretzel. Like, metaphors are not happening tonight. But between the two of them, they basically made a ring of submission positioning. Terrible descriptions. Why do you guys come here? Basement clothesline by Stark and a vertical suplex. Elbow shots to the shoulder by Stark. Snake eyes. Forearms by Sarray. A snapmare by Stark. A hangman by Sarray. Some forearms and a kitchen sink by Stark. See, I told you, more kitchen sinks. Hesitation dropkick by Sarray, followed by a fisherman suplex. Half and half suplex by Stark. I will say, the half and half suplex by Stark is kind of disgusting, and I mean that in the best way possible. Running knee and a roundhouse kick. A series of strikes and a Saito suplex get the win for the debuting Sarray. She cracked off the Saito suplex, not in the same way as Karrion Kross, because she does the Saito suplex, and it is what it is. If it wasn't a Saito suplex, we'd have to call it something else. But she sort of twists and puts some snap into it, whereas Karrion Kross is more like a direct drive down, because he's more of a power person, he's a larger individual, etc. Really, really good. They have a big show of respect after the match. Zoe Stark leaves, Sarray. I'm going to call her Sarai by mistake, and it's going to be terrible. She stays in the ring for a second to take a little bit of a bow, sort of nod to the crowd, or whatever you want to call it. And you don't even really see it because the camera is on Sarray, but in the corner, in the periphery, you see Zoe Stark getting jumped in the aisleway and getting the shit kicked out of her by a very angry Toni Storm, who very quickly runs away. Sarray goes and checks on her just opponent / I guess new friend, common babyface, whatever, and that's about it. It was a really good match. I thought Zoe Stark was going to get jumped by Mercedes Martinez, because didn't they tease that last week? But Martinez is going off in a different direction that we're going to talk about later. Stark still has Toni to deal with because she was on the pre-show and they had a good match and Stark got the win there. Sarray makes her debut. She'll take on somebody else next week. Now give Sarray a couple of the Aaliyah, Jessie Camilla, Gigi Dolan, Cora Jade. Again, as respectful as I can possibly be, the people that aren't doing anything right now, so they could be considered bottom of the card. But at the same time, elevate them. Zoe Stark is brand new. Sarray is brand new. They elevated each other in this match. Stark made Sarray look like $1 million. Stark looked like $1 million herself. This is very, very cool. Now, if you can have the top of your roster doing all kinds of top of the roster things that we already sort of know. We know that Martinez is lining up for Gonzalez. We know that Io Shirai, if she is moving to the main roster, will at least get a rematch. We know that there are some other people. Candice LeRae, I'm sure, wants to get back in the mix. Dakota Kai, when she turns, she'll be in the mix. So if that's all happening up here, if you've got the bottom of the card sort of all boosting themselves up as well, think of back in the day, Hardy's, Edge, Christian, all at the bottom of the tag team division. They didn't have titles, but they were kicking the shit out of each other and getting each other noticed, and you can do that here. It's really, really good. I've gone on quite a ramble. It's fine. We go to the back where, the lost millionaire, Cameron Grimes, is bragging to one of the interview girls that how he just bought an NFT, and I'm not going to lie, I still don't know what an NFT is. Moving on. And he got the document for it, and he was reading it out loud until he says, sorry to inform you, Mr. Grimes, your NFT, we appreciate you bidding on the NFT, but you've been outbid. We had to take a last-minute bid from Mr. Ted DiBiase, and he sends his regards. So this is an actual thing now. This went from Cameron Grimes saying, hey, I saw Ted DiBiase do this once and I can do it too, and him just getting it wrong, to Ted DiBiase just fucked him on whatever an NFT is. Which is fine. Indy and Candice are in the back. Candice is trying to talk her out of, going after Dexter Lumis because reasons. And she sees Dexter Lumis and wanders off, and Candice LeRae still thinks she's with her. Candice LeRae goes and knocks on the door of our women's tag team champions, Ember Moon and my girl, Shotzi Blackheart, and thinks Indy Hartwell is behind her, and she's not, and she gets the crap kicked out of her by the babyfaces, and they comically drag her into their locker room. And you think that's the only time you're going to see them tonight, but she enters back into the Way locker room later on after she's had her ass kicked, after her clothes have all been torn, her face is all messed up and whatever. And I didn't see it until somebody pointed it out, but she's got somebody else's gum in her hair. And if she got her ass kicked in a bathroom, which is basically what a locker room is, even if you're not near the toilet, I really don't want to touch that gum. But, Indy Hartwell comes back, she says, oh my god, I saw him, those eyes, we made eye contact, and, Candice is like really pissed off and stewing in her own juices. But then Indy Hartwell says, well, I did talk to Mr. Regal, and we are going to get a rematch for those tag team championships. They don't say when, unfortunately. I don't think it's going to be next week. We'll talk about what's happening next week in a little bit. But they all do the, hey, go the way, everybody's hands in the pot. And Candice doesn't do it because she's still like grumpy about getting her ass handed to her. And then Indy tries to take the gum out of her hair, and Johnny's like, just don't. Just don't. It's fine. Kushida is out, and he's celebrating his brand new win as Cruiserweight Champion, which is really cool. Now, they've gone from Kushida cosplaying as Marty McFly to Kushida having proper wrestling gear last week to win his championship, which is a nice thing. You're entering into a new part of your NXT career, maybe change up your look a little bit. Comes out with no shoes this week. Now, I don't know. Rusev wore no shoes in NXT, didn't he? And then they made him wear boots when he went to the main roster. Riddle, same thing, and he's getting away with it on the main roster. Now, Kushida, this is where I would love, this is the like tiny little minutia things that I would love to have a friend that actually does this, or be able to at least sit down and talk with somebody who does this, because it can't be easy, or it can't be very settling to wrestle in bare feet. I'm sure there's an advantage to it, or nobody would do it, or maybe you grip the ground better, or maybe it's a comfort level thing or whatever. But I can't imagine, if we're supposed to believe that this is a real fight, in the kayfabe terms, I don't see any benefit to wrestling without shoes on. But maybe there's something that I'm missing. Anyways, he comes out with the open challenge, basically says, I won this on an open challenge last week, and I'm going to pay that forward. So now that we got a babyface doing it, will we get the Cruiserweight Open Challenge every week? Sorry, guys. I don't know that that'll be an every week thing, but it's definitely not next week, because we'll talk about that later and why that's not a thing. But in general, it would mean we were guaranteed at least one Cruiserweight match a week. And that wouldn't be a bad thing, wouldn't it? Because we had the big boom when Leo Rush, don't call him Leon Ruff, won the title, and then Angel Garza, and then we put it on the awesome friggin' Jordan Devlin, and then we lost him for a year because of COVID. Thank you, COVID. And then the agenda came and kind of swept him away, and we put it on Santos Escobar, and Santos Escobar and him fought over the title, and Santos Escobar got to be the undisputed champion for like 5 days, and then he got to give it to Kushida. So we've had lots of title changes. It doesn't feel like the Cruiserweight Championship has been adequately represented, in my opinion. It has been more adequately represented on NXT than it was on the show that was supposed to be dedicated just to it, which is sad. And yes, shots fired at 205 Live. But given that NXT is my brand and I expect more from NXT, I'm saying I expect more from you as you boost up the Cruiserweight Championship. And I don't think that's too much to ask. Because, as everybody always says, I kiss NXT's ass, and if that is true, if I do kiss NXT's ass, then the least they can do is listen to me when I say you need to do better with making sure that Cruiserweight Championship is a prominent thing every week. Treat it like your television title. You're never going to have an NXT television title, and I hope they don't, because that would be a bit cheesy, especially... Actually, I was going to say especially because it's on WWE Network, but it's not anymore. I don't want them to have an actual TV title, but if you sort of slid the Cruiserweight division into that role, I think it would be very good. I think you get at least one firecracker type of different match, or fast-paced match, or adrenaline, or what AEW fans, when they talk about like the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers and all that, don't they call it like a cocaine match or something like that? It's a shot of adrenaline to the show, or you can. And I'm not disputing that in that particular case, because Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers, I'm not going to say House Party because that would be silly. Those guys facing each other does have that effect on that. Whether I like AEW or not, that match particular will have that effect. It will add that bit of adrenaline to that show, and I will give them that 100%, because, and especially considering their tag team division is one of their higher points, like the women's division in NXT, I do think the Cruiserweight Championship in NXT has to be that. That was a long ramble. Let's go. Who answered Kushida's Open Challenge? Well, it was Oney Lorcan, which only makes sense considering his partner is out, which is why they had to forfeit their titles. He's got to do some singles stuff, because there's no reason he shouldn't be on TV. Oney Lorcan and Pete Dunne could be a tag team, but that's not going to be a thing either. I think Pete Dunne's going to go after Karrion Kross and unfortunately lose, which is sad. Anyways, Twisting leg lock by Kushida and a front face lock by Lorcan. A surfboard stretch by Kushida and an arm bar by Lorcan. An Indian death lock by Lorcan starts clawing the face and turns it into a headlock. Body scissor into a cross arm breaker by Kushida. Kushida kicks Lorcan off the top rope to the floor as we go to commercial break. As we come back from the commercial break, knees by Lorcan and a series of kicks by Kushida, running uppercut by Lorcan and an abdominal stretch, hip attack by Lorcan, palm strike by Kushida, corner strikes by Kushida, and a double stomp to the arm, blockbuster by Lorcan, and some by God chops to freaking Kushida's chest. Jesus Christ. The echoing and the acoustics in the CWC must be fantastic for those chops. Kushida then goes back to the arm again, takes a running punt at the elbow joint, then locks in the hoverboard lock. Kushida gets the win. Legado del Fantasma come down to avenge last week with a 3-on-1 beatdown and get saved by MSK. Now, I'll let you guess, but there's a match coming next week. Tell you what it is later. Martinez is in the back cutting another promo, calling out Gonzalez again, and says, in the meantime, if you won't come out and face me because you're too worried about still being in Dakota Kai's shadow, I'll just take out her instead, which is good. Now, what's your piss break? We used to say back in the day that the piss break was the women's match, or the Divas match, as it was back in the day. Absolutely not the case now, especially in NXT. So what do we have? We have REILLY versus Imperium, which is a nothing match, and the exciting stuff is happening on the outside, because Wolf is out there with Imperium, and Killian Dane wants to have a bit of revenge for what they did to him last week after the tag team championship match that he lost. He comes to take out Wolf. I think he decks him at one point, and then he has to drag away Jake Maverick, who's out there being all scrappy. Like, we want to say that Jey Uso is like the Scrappy-Doo for Roman Reigns. No, Drake Maverick is the Scrappy-Doo for Killian Dane. He wants to get his hands, rightfully so, it's endearing, it's heartwarming to a certain extent. He wants to get his hands on the guys that hurt his big teddy bear of a friend there. So Dane has to stop getting his revenge and drag his partner off before his partner gets himself killed, which is nice, and just in time we get back in the ring. They do some kind of European uppercut thing on REILLY, and Imperium get the win. It says something that the not quite connected angle happening on the rampway during this match was way more important than the match. Now, REILLY are another couple of guys that are a lot of fun, and they're way, way, way over the top. Put them in there with a charisma vacuum. I can speak, I swear, like Imperium, and you are not doing them any. I know that they're doing some like online shows for WWE, like they're doing like the pre shows for pay-per-views and whatever, and they're probably getting over the same way Street Profits got over on the main roster, where they were doing a lot of backstage segments, when they were doing like a lot of hosting stuff almost before they get into the ring. But if you do that and show their character and show their charisma and all the fun you can have with these characters, and then put them in a match with a bucket of gray paint like Imperium, it's not great. It's not great. And as I say, NXT is my show, so they get a lot less slack from me. I do not give them the same slack that AEW fans give Dynamite, or Dark Elevation, or Dark Mutation, or Dark with the Lights Out, or whatever else they decide to put on YouTube. Anyways, I just don't. Bottom line, I know that the tag team division is the weakest link on NXT. I understand that. I accept that. I'm realistic about that. But at the same time, you're NXT. Do better. That's what I got. Kyle's coming out to the ring, for the main event match, and he stares down Cross in the gorilla position. So that's definitely going to be a thing at some point. Now, I know Pete Dunne is eyeing some gold. I don't think he's going to be taking Johnny Gargano's title. I think that's going to go to Dexter Lumis, which is really, really sad. Means Pete Dunne is probably going to cross paths with Karrion Kross at some point. If we get Pete Dunne versus Karrion Kross versus Kyle O'Reilly, somebody's going to die. Like, that's the bottom line. I think Balor's staying in NXT, but I almost think he needs to do something else for that brand. He needs to be... This is going to sound like I'm exaggerating. He needs to be the John Cena of NXT. Now, there are your main eventers in NXT, the Garganos, the Ciampas, the Adam Coles, and the Balors, but the other three are the ones that still fight over championships and still, be accomplishing something for themselves, for their NXT careers, etc. Finn Balor is the John Cena level, not in the sense that he's the same kind of character as John Cena, not in the sense that he's even as popular as John Cena, but he kind of, at least in my mind, you guys can tell me down in the box below, at this point, Finn Balor sort of exists above the title a little bit, and that's okay. That means you can put him in special, marquee situation. You can put him in special marquee, hey, here's this guy we want to be a main eventer. We're not putting him in the title picture just yet, but we'll have him run a test. We'll have him do a dry run of a couple of matches with Finn Balor. One of them will make it to a pay-per-view. He can have a nice career-making moment with Balor before we put the title on him. I think Finn Balor, if he's going to stay in NXT, he has to sort of play that role. And I think he's made for that role. And, when you get the next spooky NXT character coming along, send a goofy zombie child Alexa Bliss back to NXT and have some fun stuff there. Alexa Bliss, in her current persona with Lily, should take on Scarlett. That's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, Kyle O'Reilly versus Cameron Grimes is the match we're about to talk about. And while it is really good, and it's Kyle O'Reilly doing Kyle O'Reilly things, I don't know whether I would have put this in the main event. I would have shot the load and put SARRAY'S debut in the main event, I think. Now, that's putting an intense amount of pressure on a brand new debuting person, but that's sort of where you find out who sinks and who swims, don't you? Collar and elbow tie up, and Kyle works the arm. Grimes picks up the ankle and turns it into a leg lock. Kyle reverses the leg lock and locks in a key lock, turns it into a wrist lock, turns it into a takedown. Overhead key lock by Grimes gets reversed by Kyle. Headlock takeover by Grimes and a shoulder tackle. Standing armbar by Kyle. Right hands by Grimes. High knee by Kyle. Key lock leg sweep combination by Kyle. Series of kicks by Kyle and chops by Grimes. Cross arm breaker by Kyle and a deadlift German suplex by Grimes as we go into the commercial break and NXT rolls on. Oh yeah. Neck vice by Grimes. Body shots by Kyle. Kicks by Grimes. Hard Irish whip. But he takes, I don't know whether this was intentional or not. This is one of those things where, again, I'm gonna throw it out to the audience and ask what you guys think. Grimes hits him at one point with a hard Irish whip, but who was it? I think it was Bret Hart that used to do it. He would do the hard Irish whip, but he would fall down in the process so that you would really get the idea of the pressure he was putting on his opponent. Kyle took it chest first, but because he's a little bit shorter, and I'm not doing the whole vanilla midget thing, it looks like he took the top turnbuckle to the throat, and that looked like it killed because he stumbled over Grimes as he fell and sort of grabbing at his throat and whatever. Now, whether that was something that they intentionally did so we could intentionally sell it and so we could talk more about his neck and jaw issues, or whether that was something genuinely that went a bit wrong, I'm not quite sure. I don't want to make any assumptions anymore because we all know what happened a little while ago when everybody thought that he had a seizure in the ring, and it's like, no, I was just selling. It is what it is. Series of strikes by Kyle and a stunner to the arm, followed by a heel hook, elbow by Grimes, guillotine by Kyle, it's funny because he gets him in the guillotine, and then he just, for no reason, lets loose the guillotine and just hits him with a knee strike instead. I could choke you out. I could make you pass out right now. I would much rather hit you in the face with my kneecap, is what Kyle O'Reilly is saying. Both men trade some kicks. There's a twisting crossbody by that jumping, twisting crossbody thing that he does. It is good. It's like Dexter Loomis with that suspension suplex thing that I was talking about earlier. I don't always like Grimes. I'm sort of starting to warm up to Grimes, as I said earlier, but not everything he does sets my wrestling world on fire. That twisting, leaping crossbody thing that he does is fantastic. Lariat by Kyle, brainbuster, and that knee drop to the back of the head that he used at the pay-per-view, which I guess is going to be his new finisher, gets the win. And there's no shenanigans or tomfoolery or no post-match assault. You just end the show on him standing tall over Grimes. The commentators aren't talking about Grimes. They're saying there's Kyle O'Reilly, the guy that finally got Adam Cole out of his life. Grimes, you were a body in the ring for that main event so that they could talk about Kyle O'Reilly and how Kyle O'Reilly beat the shit out of Adam Cole. Now go buy some stocks if Ted DiBiase hasn't bought them out from under you. So what do we got next week? Next week so far, I don't think we're getting the women's tag title rematch next week because they didn't confirm that. And I'm going to seeing as I hear some things and then I think they're happening next week and they're actually not. Like, I thought we were getting Stark and Martinez next week. That's just somewhere down the line. What do we know for next week? We've got Bronson Reed versus Austin Theory. That's a win-win situation. It is. You're allowed to like Austin Theory. Moving on. But if Reed wins, he gets another shot at Gargano, which means I'm pretty sure he's going to win because they had a really good match at TakeOver. Moving on. Martinez, who wants to get her hands on Gonzalez, is going to do it by picking on Gonzalez's little friend Dakota Kai. Martinez versus Dakota Kai next week. And, say it with me, say it loud, say it proud, it's going to be a tag team match. Playa, Kushida, and MSK taking on all three members of Legado del Fantasma, which is going to be Legado del Fantastic. Yeah. Anyways, on that really, really lame, sour note, I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, tagging out. Bye, guys.